Hi everyone, my name's Lachlan and today we are going to cook a roast turkey. So in front of me here, I have the turkey that we are going to cook. This is around about 5 kilos in weight, so it's quite a large piece of meat. And today we will be able to cook this in around about 45 minutes to an hour, which is incredibly quick. A lot of people would be thinking that this will take, 2.5 to 3 hours. But today I'm going to show you some amazing ways to prepare this turkey, which not only will taste fantastic, but it will also cook extremely quickly. So this will take, a bit of preparation, absolutely, and it will take a few days in preparation. We have brining, some dry aging, so some steps that really do matter. We can shorten this, so there'll be points in this video where I'll tell you where we can either speed this up, we don't have to follow it exactly as I do it today, but this will mean we get an amazing roast turkey, and I know it'll be an absolute hit with your family. So the first thing that we have to do, I'll pop that to the side, is our brine. Now the brine is going to do two things. Basically it's going to help season the product, but also impart flavour. And they are two amazing things that we really want to do. So here I've got about 6 litres of water. The amount of water doesn't really matter as long as the turkey is fully submerged. That's the main goal. So I'm going to add some salt, some brown sugar, and in front of me here I have a mixture of spices. So I have some cardamom, some cloves, star anise, some peppercorns. I also have some juniper berries, some allspice berries, some cinnamon. So all of that will go in. Now if you don't have all of these spices, don't worry about it. You'll have something else in your pantry that's a great alternative. Otherwise, if you have your favourite spices, go ahead, throw these in, about a teaspoon of each. So now that the spices are in, I have some maple syrup for a bit of extra sweetness. I also have some apple juice, which is a great ingredient. Try and get a nice cloudy one if you can, so add that. Also a piece of ginger, add some fantastic flavour. Just chop that up roughly, throw that in, and also 2 oranges. So this is all it is. It's very simple. As you can see here, we're just throwing everything into the container. Before I add the turkey, I'll give this a stir just to make sure everything is mixed through evenly, and that's the brine. So I'm sure at this stage you have realised that we're not cooking this turkey the traditional way. We have to do a few things of preparation for this turkey, because when we look at this turkey next to this container, it obviously won't fit. So I'm actually going to remove the legs from the turkey and debone those. So then we'll be left with a crown and 2 deboned Marylands. So I'll show you the process of doing this. However, if you don't want to do this, you can order this from your butcher. All you need to do is purchase a whole turkey with the legs removed and deboned and the crown separate. You can keep these bones left over to be used for a gravy or a sauce, so there's no waste involved, and if anything, I think it just means you have an easier yield, it's easier to serve, and it will taste even better. Okay, so we can see here, this is a turkey leg completely de-tendoned and deboned. So the actual meat now is relatively rectangle. You can see here, this is the section where the knuckle was. So there's actually no meat there. And that's why it's really important that we are careful when we cut this, that we don't actually cut through the skin, as when we roll this up, that would leave a big hole. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab a couple of pieces of cling wrap, and we'll just get a meat mallet and we'll tenderize this to make it as rectangular as possible before we pop it into the brine. So here I've got 2 sheets of cling wrap. In between I've got one of the deboned turkey legs, so we do this one at a time. Now the cling wrap is basically just to protect the meat from breaking. If we do this by itself, quite often the meat disintegrates, so it's purely protection. So it's one of those things that we sort of are forced to use a plastic, which is unfortunate, but it's the best solution at this time. Now, if you have a meat mallet, use the flat section. If you don't have a meat mallet like this, you can use a small fry pan and just whack it with that. So you will make some noise, but basically you want to get this meat as uniform as possible, a nice rectangular shape, because that will help us when it comes to stuffing and rolling this turkey leg later in the process. Perfect, so there we go. Nothing excessive involved there. It's a pretty quick, 20 seconds or so. And that's just made the meat slightly bigger, slightly softer, and now this can go into the brine. So do this for both pieces of the turkey leg, and then pop this into brine into your fridge. Now this, I would brine between 12 and 36 hours. So this is where you can speed up the process if you want to do it the night before, for example, or if you do it for the 36 hours, obviously you're adding an additional 24 hours to the cook, but the meat will be softer, a bit more flavoursome. So it's one of those things that you need to weigh up with your workflow and see what will work best for you. So after your brining period, whether it be 12 hours, 24 hours, 36, whatever it may be, this is a step that I think is the most important. However, you can skip it completely. So here I have a tray and a cake rack or a wire rack. Now, what we're going to do is carefully remove this turkey from the brine. In fact, I might do the legs first because that's just a bit easier. Drain off any excess and just lay these out as best as you can onto this rack. Now, essentially what we're going to do is dry age this turkey for a couple of days in the fridge. And what that will do is it will get rid of any excess moisture on the skin and also in the flesh. That will give you a crispier skin. It'll also help to speed up the cook and it will concentrate the flavor. So a couple of really good things that will, just make this turkey, an absolute winner. So space this out. Now at the moment, this is very wet. Remove any excess spices that you may have lying around. Just grab some paper towel and get this as dry as you can, just on the surface. Once you've done this, pop it back into your fridge. Now this is one of those tasks that if you don't have space in your fridge, you probably are forced to skip it. But if you can find room, leave this in the fridge, even if it's only a day, even if it's half a day, that will be much better than not doing anything at all. The crispiness that we'll get from this skin is amazing. You'll see it very shortly. But yeah, into the fridge this goes. We'll come back in a couple of days and we'll finish off the stuffing. So it's now time to make the stuffing for the turkey. Our turkey's been dry aging really nicely in the fridge. It's almost ready to go. And today is the day that I'll be cooking. So stuffing time it is. I have 2 brown onions here. I have some nuts. I'm using almonds today. Chestnuts are the perfect nut to go with this. However, they're not in season at the moment, so I'm leaning towards an almond, or you can use a hazelnut or a cashew, anything like that. I have some garlic, half a kilo of sausage mix, which works fantastically well, and I'll also add some sage as well. So, all I need to do is dice these onions. What I'm after is these onions to cook really slowly, so we can do a relatively, not a stupidly big dice, but quite a large dice with this onion. You don't have to be too particular about it. We'll cook these down in the pan here on induction 6 or 7 for roughly 20 minutes or so until they become nice and caramelized, a nice beautiful brown color. Then we can add the garlic and the sage. Okay, so the dicing the onions, nice and simple. I'm probably doing a ½ centimetre dice, thereabouts. And I don't mind if it's perfect or not, just quickly get it done. The faster you chop this, the less likely it is that you cry, so that's an added bonus. Excellent, this is nicely diced. I'm going to add a generous glug of oil. All of this onion will go in. So here we go, this is now, as I said, going to cook down for about 20 minutes or so. Once that's done, garlic and sage goes in. Also, if you can add a pinch of salt to this onion right now as well, that'll help to bring out some more moisture and cook it a little bit quicker. So you can see here we're getting some beautiful caramelization on these onions. So this is after about 5 minutes. I'm now going to add the garlic and the sage and cook it for another 5 or 10 minutes, and these onions will probably reduce in half of this volume, so they'll shrink down quite a lot. We'll keep this really nice brown color. This will give us fantastic sweetness and layers of flavor in the stuffing. So the onion's looking fantastic. Here I have half a bunch of sage thereabouts, and I'm going to cut this up quite rustically as well. Obviously we want this reasonably fine, but this will wilt down in the pan. So I'll be pretty rough with how I go about it. Just go back the other way at least once, just to have it, you know, a relatively even size, but not necessarily super fine. Stir this through, and you should instantly get a really nice waft of that beautiful sage. Smells absolutely delicious. Excellent. So here I also have 2 cloves of garlic. So I'll give these a nice fine slice on the chopping board. Do one at a time. Once you've sliced them, go back with your knife and slide them across the chopping board. Basically, we want to almost turn this into a puree. And if you slice them fine enough the first time, this should start to make a puree quite quickly. There's always a few bits which are a bit stubborn, but here we have now a beautiful paste of garlic. Much better than a garlic crusher, I reckon. So that goes straight in as well. Once again, you'll get an amazing amount of smell coming from the garlic. So cook this down until it really reduces in volume till about 1/3 or 1/2 of what you saw of the onions before. And that is basically done for that part of the stuffing. So looking at these onions now, they look absolutely delicious. They've broken down, they're almost gone borderline mushy, but you can see we've got a beautiful deep colour, full of flavour. So now I'm going to turn this off. I'll chop the almonds or whatever nut that you choose to use. We'll stir this through, and we have to allow this to cool completely before we add the sausage mince, and then also before we place this into the turkey leg. So as I said, I'm just using almonds today, but any neutral nut is perfectly fine. Just run your knife through these. They don't have to be chopped up fine by any means, but just a way that is going to be easy to work with. If each nut gets chopped in half, that's sort of the perfect size. Alrighty, that's looking perfectly fine. Pick these up, add them to your pan with your onions. Just stir that through now. And this is where I like to transfer this to a bowl and place it into the fridge, just so it can cool down before we progress with the stuffing. Obviously, we don't want to add anything hot to a raw meat. It's not the most food safe thing to do. So give this at least 15 to 20 minutes in the fridge to cool down, or 30 to 40 minutes on the bench before we proceed. So whilst we're waiting for the onion mixture for the stuffing to cool, let's make the glaze for the turkey. So this is what we'll spread on top of the surface to make it look super shiny. It'll help us get better colour. So it's something that is worth definitely making. So here I have some soy sauce and some sherry vinegar. I'll pop these both into a pan. I'm also going to add some sage. I'm not going to chop the sage or anything. I just simply want it for the flavour. So about 1/4 of a bunch or so goes in. Likewise with the thyme, I'll do the same thing. So that can go in. I have an orange here. I'm going to zest this straight in as well. And then finally, I've got 4 garlic cloves here, which once again, I'm going to crush just like I did for the stuffing. So firstly, slice them all up. And once they're sliced, I'll slide the knife and smush these against the chopping board. And basically for this glaze, we just want to have it so it's quite thick and it will coat the back of a spoon. So that way when we apply it to the turkey, once it's hot and in the oven, it'll stick, and this will help to give us beautiful caramelization and help with the appearance and also the flavor. Okay, so the stuffing is ready to go. My turkey leg is here. I have my sausage mix. So now all I need to do is add the sausage mix to the onion and nut mixture and just mix this through as best as you can. You can even get into this with your hands if you want, pop some gloves on or something and give it a really good scrunch up. And then I'm going to show you how to tie up the leg. So obviously half of this stuffing is for one leg, half is for the other. And what you can even do, you can even buy a deboned turkey leg, I'm sure, from the local butcher, and just do this and cook that as part of the turkey, and that way you don't have all of that meat. Obviously 4 or 5 kilos of turkey is going to feed quite a lot of people, and that's without having all of the other sides that you might have as well. So turkey mix is done. And now we can add this to the leg before we roll it up. So rolling the turkey is pretty simple. Simply grab some of the stuffing. As I said, it's approximately half, and just pop it on the first third facing you. So have the longest edge facing you on the board if you can. And just shape this as best as you can to form a compact sausage shape like so. Now grab the meat by the skin and really tightly roll it up like so. So you want to be quite quick and confident like I was there. If you try and be too delicate, quite often what happens is the meat just breaks. So once you have the meat in a nice shape like we do here, you'll need some kitchen string, and you will need much more of this than you think you will. It's quite amazing how quickly this gets used up. And you can also cut off some excess at the end. It's much more annoying when you think you have enough, only to get halfway through the job and you need some more. So cut yourself some string. Now place this under the first end, and don't do this too tight because we don't want to squeeze the stuffing out from the turkey, and just do a simple knot to secure that to one end. I'll now continue to tie this up, and I'll show you quite closely how to do it in a nice simple way. This is definitely something that is a good skill to have for all cuts of meat, but particularly when you're stuffing any piece like we are here. So you can see here I have that secured end. Now simply grab a piece of string, hold it tight with your left hand and also tight with your right hand, and slide that underneath. So now you have a loop in your left hand. Obviously this will be the opposite if you are left-handed. I'm right-handed, so my left hand holds the loop. Bring that string underneath, and now just pull that tight. Like so. Do the same thing along here. Bring it back through and pull it tight. So I'm not, pulling this as tight as possible. If I do, all of the stuffing will escape, but I'm just keeping this in one compact piece. That means when it cooks, it won't unfold. It'll be easy to slice at the end, and also easy to store in the fridge if you're doing this ahead of time. Okay, perfect. So that is all tied up at this stage. Now what we need to do is slide it towards you like so, then being very careful, roll it over on the bench. So you've got the open end, I guess, now upside down. And bring the string back across and simply loop it underneath. And this is, probably unnecessary, but it just gives it a further bit of strength, which for me is worth it. If you've done all of this hard work already, you wouldn't want to, in my opinion, cut a corner here and not tie it properly. And it just means you're guaranteed to get a really nice piece at the end. Excellent. So once again, roll it back over, push in everything at the end there that's trying to escape, and now you have that little piece of excess, like so, and tie a simple knot to secure that. And there we go, we have our tied turkey leg. So complete this for the second leg, and that's all there is to it. So just before I place it into the oven, I've just got some olive oil. Just give it a really quick drizzle and rub this in with your hands just to get a nice even coverage of oil on the skin. You don't want too much because this will start to render out its own fat, and that is its own oil. Now, one of the reasons this is cooking so quickly, despite the fact that we've now separated all these components, and that in itself will help with the cooking time, is it's cooking in the combi steam oven. Now, I've actually got in the recipe 3 steps for this cooking. Now, I'm not going to try and recite them now, or I guarantee that I'll make a mistake, but they're in the recipe, so you can type these in a user program, and these cook at different temperatures with different moisture levels, and of course, we've got the food probe here as well. So we're guaranteed everyone at home who cooks this recipe will get the exact same result, which is fantastic. Now, we also do have in the recipe a little note down the bottom for those of you who don't have a combi steam oven and you may have a Moisture Plus oven. Still comes out amazingly well, and it's still around a 50 to 55 minute cook. So still extremely quick, and a turkey that would normally take 3 hours thereabouts to cook. Doing it in less than an hour is amazing, not only from a flavour point of view, but it's then freeing up that appliance for you to cook all those other things that you may need to on the day. So this is ready to go in. After 20 minutes, I'll apply some of this glaze. So I guess that's one of the most important parts here is pop this in, set a 20-minute timer, apply the glaze, set another 20-minute timer for the second round of glaze, and you'll get the most amazing colour on this turkey. So this is now 20 minutes into the cook, and you can see we don't have much colour happening yet, but it's definitely on its way. This is our glaze. So I've got everything just sitting there, wilting away together, which is great. So now just come in with a pastry brush and apply it. And you see lots of it wants to fall off. That's okay. Do it from the top so it all falls down. This will help with some really nice caramelization. So paint it all over the skin and also any bits of exposed flesh. Do it on both the legs. And once again, pop this back into the oven, set the timer for a further 20 minutes. So to get 2 applications of glaze, and then it will be looking beautiful. So I've still got a tiny bit of glaze left, so I might as well apply that now that it's out of the oven. Get it looking really nice and glossy. You can see just how shiny this is making it look. And if you have some spare like I do, you might as well do this to make it look as great as you possibly can. Now, the most important thing to do now is let this rest for at least 15 to 20 minutes. That will just give you the juiciest result possible. As soon as we cut this and the steam escapes, the steam is moisture, and that will give you a drier result. So if you can give this 15 to 20 minutes, that is ideal. Okay, so this turkey is beautifully rested now. You can serve this really however you want. I've just got some gravy to the side here, which I've made with all the bones. Normally what I like to do is just pick up this whole crown and just place it at the back of the serving dish, like so. And then I like to slice the legs. The legs are definitely the highlight. They've got so much more flavour in them. For me, it's a much nicer piece of meat, but a lot of people do like the breast meat as well. So I like to serve this on the table. That way, those who like the breast can carve as they go. Now, simply just remove the string from this turkey. It can get quite tight, so it can be a little bit tricky, but just cut it off and some of the meat will fall apart like it is here. That's okay. Be quite gentle. Excellent. Okay, and because we've got all that beautiful sausage meat in this leg, we can now just carefully slice it, and we should get nice medallions of this turkey leg. Beautiful. So when I pick up one of these pieces, I'll try and keep it together as best I can. You can see I've got a really nice round piece of meat there. The stuffing's in the middle. I've got all the nuts and all those beautiful flavours. So now, I just like to pick this up and simply lay it on this dish. Have it laid out so it's easy for all of your family to grab the pieces. Continue that with a second leg as well. So do the same with your second leg, scatter it alongside that first Maryland. And right now, we have quite a large plate of food. So here we go, we have our amazing roast turkey. It's cooked quickly. For sure, there was some preparation involved, but the benefit on cooking on the day and having all that free time, I think is well worth it. It's going to taste fantastic, it looks fantastic, and I have no doubts this will be an absolute hit. So thank you so much for watching. We would really love it if you give this recipe a go at home. If you do, please take a photo, post it on Facebook or Instagram and tag us in your post, as we would love to follow along.